So, you want to get to Master Rank in Pokemon Unite. I'm Maddie from ChillTCG. Some of you guys might know me from the Pokemon trading card game, but what you might not know is that I'm actually an avid Pokemon Unite player. I've been in the Master Rank for a while now, and I have almost 1,000 battles played. In this video, I'm going to go over the 5 best tips that you need to know to rank up more effectively in Pokemon Unite. Let's get right into it. Tip number 1 would be choosing your Pokemon and your team's composition. The most common mistake I see in new players in Pokemon Unite is how they choose the Pokemon that they're going to be playing and misunderstanding team composition. So many new players find the Pokemon that they want to play and select that Pokemon immediately once they enter the Pokemon selection menu. This can lead to multiple players playing Pokemon with similar roles and can lead to overall poor team composition. Team composition refers to the balance of the different roles that make up your 5-man team. Team composition is very important when playing ranked matches. The best things to do is to wait and see what Pokemon your teammates are choosing before you make your decision on what your Pokemon will be playing. This will allow you to fill in the gaps that are needed for your team and overall improve your team's composition. I recommend, honestly, finding at least one Pokemon in each of the 5 roles of Pokemon Unite. There's Attacker, Defender, Speedster, All-Arounder, and Supporter, and choose to play whichever role that your team needs the most for that match. Some Pokemon pair better with others as well, so stay tuned for future videos where we cover this topic in more detail. Having a well-balanced team can offer a significant advantage over opposing teams who have less than great team chemistry. Obviously, knowing what your Pokemon is good at is very important, so I really recommend trying out new Pokemon in some casual matches and get that valuable experience with your Pokemon before heading into ranked matches. Of course, you can't decide what Pokemon your teammates are going to be choosing, but you can choose what Pokemon that you think will be best for your team's composition. For players looking to rank up effectively in Pokemon Unite, I highly suggest learning some of the support characters in the game like Eldegoss and Wigglytuff. These Pokemon are extremely helpful to your team, and although you might not get the most kills in a match or get the MVP for the match, you will, however, increase your team's chances to win greatly, therefore ranking up faster. And at number 2, we have battle items and held items. Perhaps the most confusing, but also the most important aspect of Pokemon Unite is the overall item system. The Pokemon you bring to battle can hold up to 3 held items and have 1 battle item to bring with you into battle. Held items are the very core of Pokemon Unite's metagame, and since it's such an in-depth topic, I'll likely make an entirely separate video on how it all works, so stay tuned for that coming later. For now, just know that certain held items are especially useful on some Pokemon, and not very useful on other Pokemon. I highly recommend checking out the example item sets in the held item menu to give you a better idea on what items high-level players are using on every playable Pokemon in the game. This is probably going to be your most valuable resource when determining what held items you're going to be playing. When it comes to upgrading your held items, that's again a whole different topic that we could cover. But for now, just remember that held items offer a significant upgrade when they're leveled up to level 10, 15, and 20. You can upgrade your held items using item enhancers, which are unlockable from daily tasks, the battle pass, and purchasing item enhancers with in-game gem currencies. For newer players, I would suggest focusing on leveling up the items that you use the most, on the Pokemon that you also use the most. Level them up evenly all the way up to level 15 or 20, therefore you get the biggest boost possible before you go any further beyond that with any specific item. Battle items are unlocked as you level up your character in Pokemon Unite. These each have their own niche value and can be universally used in certain scenarios. I won't get much into detail today on battle items, but what I would recommend is leveling up until you unlock the eject button battle item. This is probably the most commonly used item amongst all of the high-level players, and when it's used correctly can offer unparalleled offensive and defensive advantages. Having the right battle item is honestly less important than knowing when and how to use them, so make sure you understand just exactly what your equipped battle item does before you go into the match. Lastly, Pokemon in Pokemon Unite can be split into 2 attack types, special attackers and physical attackers. This is extra important to understand when you're choosing your set of held items when you go into the battle, as some items give advantages to special attackers and physical attackers respectively. Number 3 is going to be last hits and farming wild Pokemon. New players to Pokemon Unite might not fully understand just how important last hits really are. Players who land the last killing blow to both wild Pokemon and opposing enemy Pokemon will be rewarded the most Eos energy and experience. The early game and ranked matches in Pokemon Unite are both heavily based on both teams competing for last hits on all of the wild Pokemon that spawn at both the top and bottom lanes. Effectively, you're competing for the upper hand when it comes to experience and Eos energy, and that's going to give your team a massive benefit for pushing that lane later on. Farming refers to taking the time to defeat all of the wild Pokemon that are scattered across the arena. Whenever you're not competing for objectives or battling opposing enemy Pokemon, this is the best thing that you should be doing during your downtime before you start and head into the fight. For players who are heading to the center area or the jungle, your main focus is going to be defeating Ludicolo and Bufalon in the early game and obtaining those jungle buffs to temporarily boost your stats and gain that extra experience before either heading to the top or bottom lane before you help out your teammates. Last hits are going to be extra important when we talk about the key lane objectives, Rotom and Dreadnought. These two wild Pokemon are extra important, and we will cover them in the next section of this video. My biggest tip would be to whittle down wild Pokemon with your basic auto attacks and get really good at timing your higher damaging abilities by saving them till the end to score that last hit, cashing in on that experience and that sweet Eos energy. And like I said, using this strategy is even more important when you're battling those key objective Pokemon, Dreadnought and Rotom. But we'll cover that again in the next part of the video. Lastly, it's important to understand that stealing last hits can give your team a massive advantage. Some Pokemon are better than others at stealing last minute hits, swooping in at the last minute and, cleaning up those special Pokemon. However, even if your team is nowhere to be found and the opposing team has secured their position to take Rotom or Dreadnought, you can always come in the last minute and take that last hit from them. It will still give your team a massive advantage. Number 4 is going to be the objectives and the key aspects of the game. If you don't know by now, teams win the match in Pokémon Unite by scoring the most points, not by getting the most knockouts on enemy opposing Pokémon. Teams who do get the most knockouts are oftentimes ahead on experience and Eos energy, which will give them the advantage, but in order to win the game, you need to dunk those energy for Eos energy on your opponent's goal. Key objectives are referring to wild Pokemon such as Rotom or Dreadnought or, of course, Zapdos. These are special wild Pokemon that are going to offer substantial experience and advantages during the match. Oftentimes, the team that obtains these objectives throughout the match will be in a much better position when entering the final stretch. Defeating Rotom is going to offer you some good XP and some Eos energy, but more notably, Rotom's going to help you push down the top lane, and if Rotom reaches your opponent's goal, you'll be able to score that goal immediately without having to charge up your dunk. Dreadnought, when defeated, will offer everyone on your team a good chunk of experience, but more importantly, it's going to grant a temporary shield to each one of your teammates. This is going to give each of you a massive advantage in your next fight. Top-level teams will almost always prioritize defeating Dreadnought when it spawns because the advantage it offers is honestly much greater than Rotom's. Dreadnought and Rotom spawn into the arena at the 7-minute mark of the match, so keep that in mind as you prepare for your first key objective of the match. Both Rotom and Dreadnought respawn after 3 minutes, so don't miss your chance to defeat these Pokemon a second time if you didn't get a chance to do that first time. One of the most important aspects of the game, honestly, are the Pokemon's Unite moves. These are extra powerful abilities that become available only a few times throughout the entire match. An important aspect of ranked games is knowing when to use your Unite move. In order to get the most out of it, I recommend saving your Unite moves for those big team fights that often occur when you're fighting Dreadnought, Rotom, or of course, Zapdos. Number 5 is the final stretch. Perhaps the most important thing to understand about Pokemon Unite is the final stretch. The final stretch begins at the last 2 minutes of each match. During these last 2 minutes, Zapdos will spawn in the center area, and wild Pokemon such as Rotom and Dreadnought will despawn. Most notably, during these last 2 minutes, all points scored on your opponent's goals will be doubled, so it's important to hold on to your Eos energy so you can get twice the value out of it. Zapdos, the key endgame objective, is a powerful wild Pokemon that spawns at the very center of the arena. Defeating Zapdos for your team will almost always turn the tide of battle in your team's favor, and here's why. Teams that defeat Zapdos will be awarded tons of experience, and each team member will get some Eos energy as well. Most importantly, if your team defeats Zapdos, the enemy team's towers will all open up for instant scoring, while also offering double points like I mentioned earlier. This means that your team has the potential to score 500 points, technically, in the last minutes of the game, which is almost always going to earn your team the victory if you're able to achieve it. Zapdos can be a really tricky position to handle, so here are my biggest tips for securing the game's final objective. Save your Unite moves for Zapdos. I cannot stress this enough. It helps so much. Oftentimes, both teams will all gather to the center area at the end for one big final fight to decide who gets Zapdos. It's important to have your Unite moves ready for this fight to give your team the biggest advantage possible. Pokemon with abilities that deal lots of damage should, again, time their abilities for when Zapdos is about to be defeated. This is going to increase your chances to score that last hit on Zapdos, which again will reward your team the kill for it and give you the boost. If your team has a big lead going into the final stretch, this is also very important. Do not attack Zapdos. There's nothing you can benefit from it if you're already ahead. What you need to do is make sure that you defend Zapdos from your opponent, since they're the ones who need to get the knockout on Zapdos to win the game, not your team. Pokemon Unite is such an amazing and in-depth competitive experience, and even though the game is still relatively new, there's a lot of information that can still be helpful when you're trying to gain the advantage in these ranked matches. Ranking up in Pokemon Unite is difficult, especially when you're queuing into these matches alone. My biggest piece of advice, honestly, would be to make friends who also play Pokemon Unite and are a similar rank to you. Teamwork is more important than anything in this game, and a solid team to go into battle with will always make things easier. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it was helpful. If you're interested in more Pokemon Unite content from me, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for future Pokemon Unite content.